Oh. Alright. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host, Shakel, the world's worst YouTuber. Back at you today with another excuse to be procrastinating and coming back at you with another excuse to be procrastinating instead of doing that which I have to actually be doing, which is packing, because I'm moving. It is a sad day indeed, because this will probably be one of, if not the last videos filmed in this apartment, and almost every single one of the videos that I have filmed has been here. That being said, I did promise you guys a video, and that's my excuse to be focusing on this instead of the mess behind me. So, if you can do me a favor, eyes on the prize and not what's on behind. You see this? I hate this with every fiber of my being. Everything about this makes me want to commit atrocities. Dishes are my least favorite thing in the entire fucking world. Yesterday, I went to TikTok and I asked you guys, my followers, or at least the TikTok followers, I asked you guys for questions that aren't related specifically to witchy stuff. You know what? Let's see that video real quick. So I'm coming up with ideas for a video on my Big Red Play Button channel. One of the ideas that I had that I thought would be cool was a get to know me video. So if you are one of my followers and you are interested in something like that, go ahead and drop a question in the comments. Now I want to stick to personal questions. I know my TikTok is mostly aimed at like witchy spiritual stuff. But I'm not going to lie, I'm a little exhausted and burnt out from the constant witchy and spiritual content, which is part of why I'm going back to YouTube. But yeah, with any luck, I'll get this filmed today, answer some of those questions, and get it uploaded tomorrow. Or the next day. So yeah, get to know me questions, ask away, and I'll let everybody know when it's up. Much love. Real quick, my son is with me. He will be noisy. He is autistic. He's going to be making a bunch of noise, so a heads up for that. But before we get to those questions, let's go over some basics real quick. My name is Darren. I am the host of the OSDD-1B system. We call ourselves Dark Crystal System since we are all once a part of the same crystal. And because it is part of the Dark Crystal universe, we sometimes refer to ourselves as Thrall. There are 8 of us in total, but today with me is also Dahlia, Raven, and Nina. We are all female alters, which is why we have all decided that it would be best to transition this body into female. So technically we are trans, technically, but it's because we are female alters living in a AMAB body. AMAB, of course, meaning assigned male at birth. We are 29 years old. Aside from OSDD, which is very similar to DID, we are autistic, comorbid with ADHD. We also have borderline personality disorder. Did I get everything? Sorry, sometimes it really feels like quite the laundry list of shit that we deal with. All of our favorite music falls under the categories of alt, punk, heavy metal, hardcore, deathcore, post-hardcore, everything. Look at me. Look at me. Look at this. We lived through the MySpace era of emo. We like all of it. Now, I've gone ahead and wasted plenty of time. Let's get to these questions submitted on that TikTok video by you, my wonderful, amazing, beautiful followers. Alright, got my phone right here. I'm just going to read it off of that video. Username Love Don't Hate asks, what's your favorite anime? So, Darren, I have a list of favorite animes, but I think I would always have to go back to Dragon Ball Z. Got the 4-star right here. Of course I did, because I am that type of neckbeard. I also thoroughly enjoyed Naruto and Bleach. Let me take that back for a second. I thoroughly, Dahlia co-con with me, she's agreeing with me, so we are speaking as one, Darren and Dahlia. We read the Naruto and the Bleach manga in high school, so this is like 2007, 2008. And we would hear people complain about the fillers until we didn't really understand why there was such a huge complaint. But sitting down and watching the anime, we both were just like, we get it now. Also, Raven would like to put on record that her favorite anime is Ouran High School Host Club. Darren fronting again. I honestly didn't think it was one that I would really like that much at all. And then our ex actually turned it on and Raven instantly fell in love. And I'm just like, you know what? There aren't swords or massive transformations or evil villain story arcs, but it's good. Nina wants to add that her favorite is Soul Eater, which is another one that the rest of us also thoroughly enjoy. Now I'm sitting here thinking about it. Let's add Soul Eater to the list too. I forgot about that one and how good of a time it was for me. Alright. My mind is a revolving door right now. Hang on. Next question. Death and Saints asks, are there any tattoos you really want but haven't yet? Let me reread that. Are there any tattoos you really want to get but haven't yet? That makes a lot more sense. Yes, we were already going to get the Slipknot S, but then actually hearing recently that Joy Jordison had passed away, we all agreed that complimentary to the Hades tattoo, over here we were going to get the Slipknot S. We are also fans of the show Supernatural, so we wanted to get the Devil Trap ward, not the full trap, but the ward that they've got tattooed on their chest. But we would put it classically right here where the Winchester brothers have theirs, but we've got boobs now. Better to put it like front and center right here and just start making a chest piece from there. I think that'd be hot. Dahlia and I have also both talked about it. In some way, somehow, we want to get a Spider-Man tattoo. Spider-Man is, was, has been, and probably always will be our favorite superhero. There's just something about Spider-Man that's always spoken to us, and it's sort of something that we used as a coping mechanism back when our system was being formed, and we all kind of related to that in some way. But when Dahlia and I were first getting to know each other, we really had that Spider-Man versus Venom sort of dichotomy with each other. I don't know if I mentioned in this video yet, I'm not the original host, Dahlia is, and I've only been the host for about 4 years. That might be important context. Anyhow, that didn't have the same effect I wanted it to. Hang on, let's redo the whole scene, okay? That might be some important context to have there. Moving on! But yeah, tattoos, that's kind of all we got right now. We've got a few that we've all batted around in our heads from time to time, but those are the ones that we know we're going to get at some point. Next question. Quoth the Raven asks, favorite color? Alright, so, Darren, still fronting. My favorite color is green. Now, I do love other colors, don't get me wrong. For some reason, green has just always been that color for me. I also really like blue and red and purple and all of my headmates' other favorite colors as well. But the fun thing about us is these eyes actually have a unique type of color blindness. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's where when there are colors that are very similar to each other, our brain doesn't pick up that they are two separate colors, it's just the same color. So therefore, clear, distinct, vibrant colors that you can tell what they are always not only our favorites as a whole, but I don't know if it's because we're autistic, I don't know for whatever reason, but for whatever reason, it just feels good to look at these bright, vibrant colors. Now we'll pass along the torch. Dahlia, her favorite color is red. Raven, her favorite color is purple. Nina, her favorite color is blue. Now again, with all of these, it would be like your vibrant crimson, the deep royal blues, and I don't know nearly enough about the different shades of purple, but that same shade and tone. Bunny Stars asks, what's your favorite food? Alright, for myself personally as Darren, I don't know, because when I became the host, I didn't realize there was a host switch for several years I was going on with all of these surface interpretations, which were all Dahlia's. But I do know that I will always default to a good cheeseburger, preferably if it's double and bacon. I will never, ever, ever pass up a good steak. And those were all Dahlia's favorites as well. It's really funny, Dahlia and I have always been like that, where it's hard to tell where one ends and the next begins. We've just always been closer like that. I was just always the edgier, angrier version of her. Tina's favorite food is tacos, particularly beef or steak. There's nothing wrong with pork, but because we are witches, pagans, dedicated to Lord Set, one of his favorite animals is pigs, so in honor of him, we have sworn off pork. Raven's favorite food is sushi and stir fry, anything that is Asian takeout. Midori Muse asks, what's your height? Sorry, Midori Muse 08, what's your height? This body is physically 6 foot even. Inner world, however, I'm about 5'9", 5'10". Nina's the same height as me, inner world, and Raven and Dahlia are both about 5'4". But people are probably asking for physical height, so 6 foot even. Next question, Mighty underscore Mouse 97 asks, do you play video games? That's a hard question to answer. The short answer is yes. But since we were teenagers and around high school, we've always been broke and not quite had enough money to get new consoles. So the most up-to-date system that we have is Xbox 360. But we also do still have all of our favorite games from when we were kids, from PlayStation 2, PlayStation Original, and we even... I inhaled... hang on. I inhaled a hair. I at least hope it was one of my own. Oh, sudden switch. Dahlia, by the way. Hey, what's up, guys? Dahlia. Still Dahlia. Alright. Guess I'll take over from here. Video games. Yes, we have all of our old video games from when we were kids, too. So we've got stuff that's like... N64, we've got Zelda, Ocarina of Time, we've got Pokemon Snap, which is one that we go back to regularly. Whenever we break out the N64, it's probably for Pokemon Snap. Our first all-time favorite video game that I remember very distinctly was Star Fox 64. Which frustrates me to no end because still to this day I have no idea how to unlock all of the alternative levels. I remember being like 8 years old and I found a strategy guide for this game that I'd already been playing for like a year, so now I'm flipping through the pages and I'm like, I can get to the other worlds? That's not just there for aesthetic? It's a rant in and of itself. Yeah, collectively our entire system thoroughly enjoys the Halo system. The Halo system? The Halo universe, so all of the Halo games. I think the only one that we didn't really enjoy was Halo Wars, and that's because we're really not into, what's it called? The RTS games. Real-time strategy, that's what they're called. That was the long answer. The short answer is, yes, we play video games, but all of the video games that we have are outdated, and we really haven't had the money to update any of our systems, much less get any of the games. So, moving on. Now with me at the front. Alright, Dahlia's in front. I don't think I'm going anywhere. Darren's still here, right behind me, but closest to me now is Raven. Also, I changed a little bit so there would be a visual marker to the fact that somebody else is fronting now. Alright, hang on. I think this is the one we're going with. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah! Next question comes from Jay Sante? J-S-O-N-T-E. Jay Sante, I think. Are you a motorcycle person? Yes. That doesn't mean that any of us know anything about automotives, particularly motorcycles. But you know what? I see a good-looking motorcycle and I am drooling. Not... Sorry, I had a thought, and I'm going to keep it to myself. I see a good-looking motorcycle and I am drooling over this motorcycle. I've kind of always been like that because when I was younger, back when I was still the host and we were like, I don't know, 12 years old, I really started getting into the hard rock and heavy metal, moving away from the pop and country that I was raised on. So, of course, something that came with the aesthetic was motorcycles, and I've just always wanted a motorcycle. I know Darren does, and ain't nobody else in this system going to have a problem with a motorcycle. So yeah, motorcycle person, yes, but it doesn't mean we know a goddamn thing about motorcycles. Moving on! Alright, Nexus Thorn asks, what is your primary special interest? It really depends on who you ask. For Darren and I, and Raven, and I guess Nate, for all of us, it's always been like spooky stuff, like ghosts, haunted houses, stuff like that has always been our default special interest, especially when I was the host. Really, we all would hyperfixate at the same time, even before I knew they were there, and we would just binge watch, like Ghost Adventures, Dead Files, anything we could get our hands on, because at one point when we were younger, it wasn't easy to find these TV shows. You just kind of had to wait until Halloween season. So then, when we finally started getting access to stuff like Dead Files and Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures, it was just consuming mass quantities of spooky television. And then from there, we just sort of got into witchcraft and spirituality because we learned quickly, because we have a brother, same dad, different moms. Our brother's mom is a practicing witch, and she had been doing it for years and years. So our first introduction to witchcraft was somebody who was actually a high priestess of white magic. So being around that, being around other people who were also into the spooky and supernatural and paranormal, we started learning protections and actually started getting into witchcraft that way. One thing led to another, and here we are. Openly practicing witches and mediums who are also in love with all things spooky. However, we will always have a special interest. Every now and then we'll just hyperfixate on Star Wars. Sometimes we'll get back into comic books and just relive that nostalgia. We will always default to Marvel over DC, but that doesn't mean we have a problem with DC. I mean, other than that, I think everything that we would consider a special interest would be something related to the supernatural or the paranormal, whether that be witchcraft, paganism, any of those things. It just all falls into the same category of the other side and the unknown. And there's our special interest. Primary, default, all day, every day. All the spooky shit, because we a bunch of spooky bitches. Next question. Alright, next question. Rachel Chong 2 asks, how cute is your girlfriend? Our girlfriend is fucking gorgeous. She's adorable. Absolutely cute. The short answer is very. Rachel is actually our girlfriend. I say our because she's actually dating the four of us. The four of us being Nina, Raven, Darren, and myself. Now, there are 8 of us in total, but 2 of them are children, and the other 2 are gatekeepers. Which means they work with our memories and emotions, and therefore they don't spend nearly as much time in the front. Also, she's not going to be dating any of the kids. Next question. It's Quiet Here 5 asks, any languages you would like to learn? I don't think there's any other languages that we would actually be actively interested in learning. If we did, it would be for either cultural or religious reasons. Like, we are God spoused to Hecate, traditional God spouse, which means we're basically her nuns, which really falls in line with most of our special interests. So we think it would be pretty cool to learn ancient Greek to honor her. We are also very close to the Kemetic Neter Lord Set, or Sutek. So it would be really cool to learn ancient Egyptian. Also, our bio father is Native American, Mexican, and Puerto Rican, so we think it would be really cool if we actually were able to take the time to learn any of those languages, particularly Dene, Cherokee, Potawatomi, or Spanish in general would be cool too. So if we were actually going to, the first on the list would probably be Spanish or ancient Greek. Next question! Oh, this one's going to be long, but I'll try to keep it quick. Smoosh asks, I'm really curious, how did you first find out that you were a part of a system? Which actually works out very conveniently because I was the host at the time when I first came aware that there was anybody other than myself. Story time! For context, I was the host, Dahlia was the host from around age 12 or 13, still a little fuzzy on that, until about, what was it, 2016, so 24? Age of 16, I had my first serious, long-term relationship. It was a relationship, as I had referred to it as. The first summer that we spent together, she had broken up with me because one of her exes had gotten into a car crash. She didn't know if she could handle it or something. Her ex was fine other than for a broken leg, but after a while we got back together and she was still on this whole oh, I don't know type of energy. And that's when I met Darren. Darren at first was wily, spitfire, edgy, angsty, he went by he at the time. So that's why I sometimes slip up and accidentally misgender her. I promise it's not on purpose. Anyhow. Darren came in like a streak of dark lightning and was no, listen here, girlfriend. You're gonna lighten the fuck up or I'm going to sabotage your relationship. And he was very active during that relationship, even at some point winding up dating her or something like that also. That time period is very fuzzy. So in short, it was during a very turbulent time in high school I met Darren. And now, there were still more times where I met another alter. There was one that we referred to as Taryn, who I believe was actually a male-presenting Nina. And then there was Varen, who was very, mind you, they all take on sort of rhyme scheme with our dead name, which is Aaron. And I think Varen might have been Damien. It's still our gatekeeper. It might have been, it's hard to tell sometimes. I don't want to make that the nail in the coffin to say that's who that was, but once me and this person broke up, things kind of calmed down and subsided, and I didn't really hear from them again. But Darren was always around, even if Darren didn't really jump forward and say, hey, I'm here, I could always feel him, especially when I was anxious, upset, or felt scared for whatever reason, because Darren was our protector. Now, I sort of had this small fascination with dissociative identity disorder, and I didn't know what OSDD was at the time. So, since I didn't straight up black out between switches, I had convinced myself that Darren was a hyper-sentient alter ego. Because Darren really felt a lot like the parts of me that I didn't accept, that I didn't want to deal with, basically my shadow self. So that's what I thought he was at first, even though in my gut I knew better. Then I learned that DID is directly related to childhood trauma, of which I couldn't remember any. Then I learned, by its nature, DID and OSDD make it so you forget what your childhood trauma is. That's literally how alters are formed, is when the trauma's happening, usually it has to be repetitive trauma, your mind dissociates in order for you to forget. And then it's from those dissociated states that a new personality state arises. And what makes it possible for an entirely new personality state to arise is because it happens, this trauma would have to take place during a time before a child's personality is fully developed, which means it's usually between the ages of 5 and 9. So then I started piecing together, started forming my hypothesis on what happened based on the way that I have triggers, the way my triggers manifest. I realized, no, I do actually have PTSD based on these symptoms. Went to a therapist, got diagnosed with PTSD, started digging into it further, using what I was exhibiting to be an indicator for sort of sleuthing together what happened. And I didn't remember it, but I got it right. Within a year after that, my ex and I, which is a different ex, the one that we have our son with, now we're going on 2016 now. She and I move into a new apartment that winds up being completely moldy, and we actually made a 4-part series on those events. If you want to go to nearly the beginning of this channel and watch through those, basically it was fucking awful. Because of that, Darren wound up fronting so much and taking so much shit and being protector and trying to figure out what to do, that in the process of all of that, Darren became the host. But since I didn't know about anybody other than Darren, and since I wasn't aware of the host switch, Darren became the host and didn't have any of the subconscious memories to go with it. And Darren still hasn't recalled all of her memories. Darren has sort of had to piece her entire inner world life together by talking to the rest of us and just learning things and remembering them the hard way. So now it was from about December of 2016 until March of 2021. Hang on. I'm starting to switch out with Darren so Darren can tell the story. 1 second. How's that for fun clickbait? Full switch code on camera. God, I've got a lot of opinions about that. I'll save that for another one. Hey, Darren again. Alright. Alright. Darren fronting now. Dahlia's also right here. How do you always manage to look better than me? Alright, because you had this body for a lot longer than me. This body is a temple and you know its secrets. Alright, I think I'll settle in now, but I'm going to be playing with my hair this entire time. I'm hyper-focused on my hair, it's going to drive me nuts. I'm going to ignore it. Camera's there, picture's there, camera's there, picture's there, camera. So, that's where I pick up as host, and I didn't realize that I was still associating with the host body and the host identity. Our ex and I moved to the town that we live in now, which is her hometown. And then I'm noticing that, like, my entire personality has changed. I'm realizing that everything is just different about me, and I assumed it was the trauma. because living in that old apartment was extremely traumatizing. We were sick for months. Most of the 9 months that we lived there, we were sick. We both lost our jobs. Depression was incredible. And then I'm going to sort of fast forward past other unrelated events, because this is already going to be like 45 minutes long. It was March 2020. Illinois had just been locked down because that's the state that I live in. And I had started watching the Anthony Padilla channel, and he has that whole series where he does, I spent a day with so-and-so, and he sat down with 3 people who had DID. I think it was like 20 minutes long, or 20-something minutes. Alright, I pulled it up. I'm looking at it right now. What it's called is, I spent a day with multiple personalities, parentheses, dissociative identity disorder. I sat down, I watched this out of pure curiosity, remembering the mild interest that I had in dissociative identity disorder when I was younger. 28 minutes, 55 seconds. In that time, all of a sudden I was like, there it is. And what a lot of systems will explain is something called a shell. Now, I'm not as familiar with a shell. I called it a wall. There was basically a barrier between the front and the rest of everybody else. That wall came down and everybody was there. Now, I didn't recognize everybody at first. Raven was the first one that I got really close to. I actually started remembering things with her, and I just sort of pieced things together from there. That happened in March. It took me until December to realize and remember that I was Darren. Because in all of this time looking around, looking for Darren, where's Darren, where's Darren, all of a sudden it's just like, I'm Darren! And Dahlia she remembered first before I did, so she's the one that actually sat down with me and helped me figure that out and walked me through it. Because if I'm Darren, then where the fuck is Aaron? Oh, Aaron was never a boy, Aaron was always a female alter, that makes sense. No, Dahlia, it's not an insult, I'm sorry. Alright, I've only got a couple of questions left. Darren and Dahlia co-con right now. Alright, we got Ajax 2000. What are some of your favorite paranormal investigator equipment? Save the best for last. First and foremost, I will swear everything on EVP. Which, if you don't already know, stands for Electronic Voice Phenomenon, which is basically using a form of audio recording well, it doesn't have to be software. You record the voices of the dead, or whatever other type of spirit might be in the immediate vicinity. Now, just whatever you have on your phone will work just as well as anything else, but we are very old school and found this for like 25 bucks at Walmart and actually had the spare money to grab it, so we got this. For those of you who don't know, it's an old school tape recorder, and it came with a tape, and then we also bought separate tape cassettes to go with it. I just feel like there's something very novel about having an old school magnetic tape recorder. It just makes me feel a little more complete, I'm not gonna lie. When I was looking for that, I was also trying to find my old camera that I had, which is, by all means, out of date. But it's the one that I used back in high school when I was conducting my first initial investigations. Almost every single ghost picture that I had captured was on that camera. The important thing about it is it has a very bright flash. It is also digital, it's not film, but using that camera actually helped me to come up with a theory that when you get ghosts manifesting, or what some might call ectoplasm, because it's really ghost mist, these things are visible but invisible to the naked eye. So when the flash goes against a manifesting ghost or ectoplasm or whatever ghost material, what it's actually doing is the flash is reflecting against it and reflecting back, so it actually shows you that there was something there. And the more sophisticated digital camera actually is able to pick it up in ways that our eyes can't. So it makes me believe that there's actually something there in the physical space that's just less tangible than your average physical thing. Alright, before I go ahead and recommend this other one, I gotta go download it and even see if it's even still on the App Store. Hell yeah! Still got it. Ghost Radar Classic by Spud Pickles. This is what it looks like in the App Store. When I first saw it, I was actually very skeptical at first because it's just a random app on the App Store. But in some way, it actually picks up on electronic fields, like electromagnetic fields. So you can't guarantee that everything that you're picking up on the radar is actually a ghost. Because we've picked up stuff like, what the hell's going on? Oh, it's an ad. This is what it looks like when you actually have it popped open. Oh, it looks like it's already picked something up. But just because there's a little blip on the radar doesn't mean it's a ghost. Now, sometimes it will shoot words at you, but it's hard to really assess whether that's a ghost or not because it also picks up on radio frequencies, so it could have just been something on the radio that it pulled out of the air. Oh, look, it just gave me excitement. That's awesome. So yeah, Ghost Radar Classic by Spud Pickles. It's on the Google Play Store, so I'm not sure if it'll be on iPhone, but there's got to be some kind of equivalent because it came from that time when everything was a competition between Android and iPhone. But one would be surprised with what you can actually find for free on the Play Store. There's a couple of spirit boxes that we've used and actually yielded some pretty interesting results. So yeah, to sum it all up, something to record EVP, a digital camera with a really good flash, and I would also recommend to check out and play around with any kind of app that you can find on the App Store. You'd be surprised. Alright, final question, and I know I'm going to butcher this username. Vargriu Wafenra? I know I said that wrong. This person asks, what's it going to take to be your bestie? With a couple of emojis. I don't know. Usually that takes just good conversation, intellectual debate. God, I don't really bestie many people. Now, if you want to be regular friends, that's a different story. It's a lot easier to just be friends with me, any of us. And I'm not going to say it doesn't happen because there's actually 3 people from TikTok that I talk to regularly who I would actually consider pretty close friends. So, start up conversation with something interesting, and if it catches my attention and we carry on from there, yeah. But be warned, I talk at great lengths whether you want me to or not. I'm quiet at first, and then you can't get me to shut the fuck up. But another way that you could ensure and sweeten the pot to possibly become a bestie is to hit subscribe if you got this far in the video. This was a long video, you might as well give it a shot. Also hit that like button so this gets pushed positively into the algorithm and help me get noticed, help make me famous. Now with that, that is all the time that I've got for today. Until next time, much love. Peace out. Namaste, and goodbye.